It is late December, and we are working in the woods making preparations for the upcoming 2022 maple season that will be here in a couple of months. What we are doing is removing old drop lines and installing new ones with a new spout. Each year, every tree gets a new, clear polycarbonate spout, and every second year we change the drop lines as well. The drop line is a 36-inch section of tubing that connects the spout to the lateral line, which carries the sap from tree to tree and ends up in the main line. The main line carries the sap to the storage tank. We have our family members working together today in two separate crews, and the work involves using a special hand tool to remove the old drop line and a second special tool designed to install the new drop line and then to install the new spout. We use this lead to collect all the old drop lines as well as hold the supply of new ones. This woodlot contains about 1,600 taps, and each one is getting a new spout and drop line, so it takes some amount of time and effort to complete the total job. As you can see, we are lucky this year in that the snow cover is not very deep, making the work go faster than if we had to use snowshoes to navigate deeper snow. A couple of weeks have passed now since we have replaced the drop lines, and now we are working on tapping the trees.
Hi, this is David from Big Tree Maple. We're out here tapping trees today. It's February 12th, and this is a normal time that we start to tap the trees. Just to give you a little bit of a lesson, in the summer, when the trees are growing, they're using sunshine as energy. They're sucking in carbon dioxide. They're using water, they're releasing oxygen. That process is called photosynthesis. And during that process, trees store sugars down in the roots of the trees. In this time of year, late winter, early spring, as temperatures start to warm up, trees think about starting to grow. So that stored sugar that's in the roots starts moving up the trees with water, makes sap as we call it, and that provides energy for the new leaves for the trees to start to grow. So as sugar makers, we're collecting that sap as it's moving up and down the tree. The sap moves around the outer portion of the tree, the sapwood, if you will, the very outer portion. So when we tap a tree, we drill in about 1.5 to 2 inches into the tree, and we use a tubing system, as you see here, and you've probably seen some of the videos. So we're going to demonstrate tree tapping. So I use the analogy that tapping a tree is about like a person giving blood. Some amount is perfectly healthy, but we do it in moderation to keep the tree healthy. So we're harvesting a portion of the sap. Generally, most of our trees have one tap on them. The very biggest ones might have two. So when I come up to a tree, I look it over. I want to find new wood. We don't want to tap into an existing tap hole, so we're generally, a couple inches to the side or 12 to 18 inches above or below the old tap hole. If you want to come up a little closer, we can show you here's an old tap hole that the tree's healed up. So healthy trees generally close the tap hole, grow them over in 1 to 3 years. And as trees grow and add wood, they'll cover that up and you have new wood. That's one reason why we tap our trees the appropriate amount of taps per size, so it gives them a chance to grow new wood the whole way around and not harm the trees. So we're going to go ahead and tap it. I'm going to tap right here. One indication when you tap a tree, the color of the wood shavings that come out is our way of looking inside the tree to see what's going on. We want to make a tap hole that has nice white colored shavings. That's an indication of healthy wood. So we're going to go ahead and make the tap hole. So the tap hole's in. I'm going to take my spout and a little bit of ice on there that I just cleaned off, and listen carefully when I set the tap. hear that dull thud sound, that's how we know when to stop. Nice and secure. If you over tap or overset the spout, you can run the risk of putting a crack into the bark, which leads to a place for bacteria and insects to get in. Makes the tree have a harder time healing the hole. So we just a nice firm set with that dull thud. So that tap is complete, and we're moving on.
Most commercial maple syrup operations now use a vacuum system to increase and improve the sap flow from the sugar bush. The reason a vacuum system improves the sap flow is because it lowers the pressure inside the tap hole placed in the tree, and therefore causes the sap to flow out of the tree at a faster, more continuous rate. A vacuum system consists of three main components: the vacuum pump, the sap extractor, and the tubing system. The vacuum pump is the machine that actually creates the vacuum in the system. It does this by pumping air out of the tubing system and thereby reducing the pressure inside, thus creating a vacuum. Vacuum is measured in inches of mercury, or in other words, how many inches will a given vacuum lift a column of mercury. Modern vacuum systems are very efficient and can produce vacuum levels close to the atmospheric pressure, or about 27 inches of mercury. There are several different types of vacuum pumps, and they are powered by either electric or by gasoline and sometimes diesel. The next piece of equipment is the sap extractor, or it is sometimes called a releaser. The purpose of this machine is to collect the sap from all the sap mainlines and then remove that sap from the vacuum environment and put it into a storage tank at normal atmospheric pressure. There are several types of extractors. Some are mechanical and actually dump the sap into a tank, and others are electric and have an internal pump which pumps the sap out of the vacuum into the storage tank. The last part of the system is the tubing system. The design of the tubing system varies considerably, and each system is tailored to fit and work with each individual sugar bush. Generally, there are larger lines that attach to the extractor called main lines, and then branch lines that go from tree to tree called lateral lines. Each tree has a drop line that attaches the lateral line to the spout, which is tapped into the tree. Much of the work in producing maple syrup revolves around the construction and maintenance of the tubing system. It is necessary to frequently walk along the lines and remove trees and branches that have fallen on the tubing, and also search for vacuum leaks that may have been created by some animal chewing the lines. Squirrels love to chew the plastic lines. Big Tree Maple does not have a large sugar bush located near our sugar house. All the sap we process must be loaded and hauled on a tanker truck. We own a repurposed fire tanker truck for this purpose. Each day the sap flows, the tanker is driven out to the sugar bush, and the sap that has been collected is pumped from the holding tank to the tanker truck. The tanker truck then delivers the sap to our sugar house. The sap is then pumped off the truck and into a receiving tank. The sap is filtered with a very coarse filter as it enters that tank. From the receiving tank, the sap is pumped through a set of much finer filters before it reaches the largest tank, which feeds the reverse osmosis RO machine. The RO machine uses high pressure and a permeable membrane to remove as much as 90% of the water in the sap, leaving only about 10% of the volume to hold all the dissolved sugar that must be boiled. After the sap passes through the RO machine, it either goes directly to the head tank, which feeds the evaporator, or it goes to a refrigerated tank to wait until a boiling time is available. Once the concentrated sap hits the evaporator, it begins to boil almost immediately. And the boiling process is a continuous flow of sap into the evaporator, and small frequent batches or draws of finished syrup is coming out on the other end. Filtering is the next step. As maple sap is boiled into syrup, there is a substance called niter, or sugar sand, that forms in the syrup as a result of the heating and boiling. The filter press removes that substance, and the result is a stream of very clear and very hot maple syrup. The freshly made syrup is put into 40-gallon stainless steel barrels, which are tightly closed when full. As the syrup cools inside, it actually becomes vacuum packed or hot packed. Later, as needed, the barrels are opened, the syrup is reheated, and put into the retail size containers for sale.